Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Some Days Today. My name is Bola Odina. I am your host, and with me is a permanent guest host at this point, Mac Odina. Welcome, Mac.
Good to be here.
All right. And our interviewee or guest today is Moni Ufomata. Am I saying your last name right?
Same. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Ufomata, yeah.
How do you prefer? What's the right way to say it?
Ufomata.
All right. Well, Moni is a friend from back in the days, and she is really just living her best life right now. There's so much to Moni. She is an amazingly smart, well-traveled, well-read, stylish friend of mine, and just been tracking her journey for a while. Has been very successful in the professional space, and more recently decided to really sort of turn that in and, exchange that for something that seems to be, I guess, more aligned to where you are right now in this space. So I'm really curious to kind of dive into all of that, learn more about your journey, how you got here, and all the things that you're working on. So,
well, I just want to also add, Moni is probably one of my top 3 Instagrammers. It's Will Smith, Moni, and damn, what's the name of that crazy dude?
Techno.
Techno. Favorite Instagrammers.
Yes. So we'll jump into that. But welcome, Moni. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. That is like a really amazing honor because Will Smith is one of my top ones. And I really feel like one of those people that sort of flirts with Instagram. Like, I really love it, but I'm kind of at that age where we came in around like wanting to be private people, but still loving a little bit of the exposure. But I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for that.
Looks like it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Just for the record, everyone can call me Moni, which I guess is now my official Instagram name.
Oh, nice.
Which was funny, was given to me by one of my Nigerian friends. She nicknamed me that, and now it's stuck. And so everyone can call me Moni if that's easier for people.
Moni,
I love it.
Moni in the middle. All right.
I love Moni.
Let's do it.
So let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Moni, or as much as you want. And, that's either your past, your present, and whatever else happened in between before we really get started.
I guess I'll just talk about where I was born and how I was raised, because I think that that's a really major part of my identity and also part of why I love to travel a lot. So I was born in England. I was born in the UK to Nigerian parents who later moved back to Nigeria, and that's where I grew up for most of my life. So all of my teens and also late middle school. And then I left and came to America, and we've been in America now for 20-something years. And so I feel like I've had these 3 major life stages, like born in the UK, grew up in Nigeria, and became an adult in America. And so people always say, like, why do you travel so much? Or why do you like to travel? I'm like, I guess my parents just, did it a lot from the day I was born. And it's just kind of really my nature. It's in me. It's part of what I enjoy. And I think just kind of also having the ability to have 3 passports because of that, and the ability to just sort of claim different identities. It makes me just really love chasing after culture, chasing after new places, finding out how that connects all of us, what that means for my identity, what that means for humanity. And that's started a very long time ago, and it's a core of why I travel and why I do a lot of just kind of going all over the place.
Yeah.
How long were you in England? I guess I'm just curious. I didn't know that part of your history. How long were you in England before you moved to Nigeria?
Yeah, I thought you were.
It was like back and forth. So my parents left right after I was born, and then we went back, and we were there till I was maybe 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, a few years. So there are like really strong memories of growing up there as well. Like walking to school in the cold. There are pictures of us at school, and I remember our flat where we lived I remember sometimes even the playground. But the core memories and that make up who I am are really like growing up in Nigeria. Obviously, when you're a teenager and a lot older, those are the things you really, really remember. But yeah, so.
And what prompted the move to Nigeria for your parents? You remember?
So my parents were in school. They were getting various degrees while we were younger and when we were born. Like my mom got her PhD in the UK. My dad did some of his dental degree in the UK. And they've always just, I guess, wanted to go back to Nigeria. I don't know. I'm not sure. But we've been fortunate to have gone everywhere with them.
Nice.
Even when I count some of the places I've been and the countries I've traveled to, I think I've been to 40 something now, almost 45. And amongst them are some of the places I traveled with as a child, and they count too. So I worked in Saudi Arabia for a while. We visited him while he lived there and worked there. So that counts as a place as well. Because I was a full-blown teenager when we went there. So yeah, I can definitely have to give some of the credit to my parents for igniting some of the travel fever.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I thought you were an akata. For those, okay, so I thought you were just basically like a person who was born. And I say akata. Listen, huh? And I say, yeah, I thought you were like born here, like your parents were Nigerian, and you were born and raised here the whole entire time. That's what I
really?
That's what I thought this whole entire time. Yeah.
You know that's an offensive word too, right?
I know. I typically don't like people saying. I typically listen.
It's okay because it doesn't apply to me, but.
I know. The thing is, like she said that because I actually just recently had that conversation with somebody who was using the term akata because I'm not Nigerian, and so I was like, don't feel that free saying that around me. I mean, it's an offensive term. And like, come on, you know what it is, blah blah. And it's like, yeah, that's probably the same thing that white people think about. Like, if it's offensive, don't use it around me. Like, and that's why she said that. But I was just being funny when I said that. You know.
Yeah. All right, cool. So go ahead.
But no, I wanted to say that, and then I wanted to also, I guess I wanted to ask you, like, what's your favorite place that you've been to that you like to visit?
So that's always such a hard one, because I have favorite experiences, and it's always so difficult to say what's my favorite place. Like, honestly, this might seem very like not that exciting, but like it's always great to go back to Lagos or go back to Nigeria. And I kind of always say that's my favorite city because you feel like you belong, you feel like it's home, but there's also a lot of excitement. And every single trip I've done something new and different that's shown me another side of Nigeria that I didn't experience as a child. But I've had like lots of great favorite experiences in different places. And some of my travel philosophy, I always say that I have to eat something local, do something adventurous, and take in something cultural. And so that's kind of why I will say like there have been favorite experiences. Like for the first time I ever ziplined was like in Guatemala. I picked Antigua, Guatemala, and I went there with a friend, and we were there for over a week. And there was this opportunity to go zip lining, and I was like, I've never done it. I was like, why not? I didn't know that you had to hike up this mountain and super high up, but I will always remember that place for that experience. So I've had lots of favorite experiences, but I guess favorite city is still sort of Lagos. A lot of other places are close as well.
How do you decide where you're going to travel to? Or let me just say, from looking at everything you're doing on Instagram, it seems as if there's an emphasized focus on traveling now. So we can talk about how you got into this space. But prior to then, how were you deciding where to travel? Was it once a year, once every couple of years? How did all of that come together for you?
But prior to now, I would do at least 3 international trips a year.
Oh, wow.
And I would prioritize places I'm going around. Where can I go within the time frame that I have for vacation time? So most of my travel was like Caribbean or Europe, places that weren't too far away. so that I can maximize my vacation time and spend as much time as I can there. So I would do like Central America, the Caribbean, and sometimes Europe. And so I would decide around that. When I got a little bit more advanced or a little bit better at planning and organizing trips, I would pick a particular country that's been on my list or a desire, but then I would pull up a map and make sure that while I'm there, I'm able to visit one or two other places. So Europe is really great for that because you can get to so many different countries easily. And now I was able to add a few West African countries on this West Africa trip. And so that was always the mindset behind how I would plan travel. Where can I go in the time that I have off of work? And all of my vacations, I maximize every federal holiday that there is in the U.S. So every time is like MLK Day. I would have planned travel from Thursday to Tuesday and take vacation days around that. But that gives you like a good 5 days to go somewhere and have a really good time. So that's been the mentality around most of the travel. And I know finances is probably another question you're going to.
Yeah, because especially, so what were you doing prior to now? Trying to figure out if your independently wealthy parents or somebody was funding this, or how did you make this work for the rest of us? Yeah.
My parents are all like, oh, we love that you're traveling, but on your own.
Don't ask us for it.
Nobody didn't even give me miles.
That's hilarious.
No. So I have a designated savings account for travel, and it's really like money I don't look at and money that I just set aside for travel, and it's a percentage out. I used to work in DC. I've worked as a policy professional for many years. I just recently, my most recent title was Director of Government Relations at an agency. So I've done health policy for years at different various places. I mean, it's government work. It's not the most lucrative job, but it definitely pays well. And one of the benefits of it is that you get all of those holidays. So time is probably a more precious commodity than even money. And so whenever I had time off, I used it wisely. And it was really great that I had a job that allowed me to take every single holiday. But as far as the finances are concerned, travel was such a priority for me. And so I was able to be really disciplined about putting money aside out of every paycheck. And if you just take it out of your paycheck before you even get the money, you don't get to see it. So you can work your monthly budget around whatever is left over, and it doesn't hurt as much. And then when you see it accumulated, you're like,
we can do this.
But it's not without sacrifice. I can't, and you can ask some of my friends. I'm like, I'm not doing bottomless mimosa this month, because I just don't have it. I would rather save it for bottomless sangria in Spain, than out here, or just find other ways to have savings in terms, if you really want to do a certain thing or prioritize, you have to find ways to make the money work.
Yeah.
So I would sacrifice different things like that. Even for a while, I didn't have a car. You don't necessarily need one in DC. So I was grateful that I lived in the city. So I sacrificed having a car for a few years. And it was great to be able to put those car payments towards more travel. It's like, do I get a car in DC, or do I want to go somewhere? Do I want to go to Cuba or Madagascar or something? And I got to do those. And so those are some of the sacrifices you make, but the reward is really great. And so I'll just say the two things are: have a designated savings for it and be really disciplined about it.
That's awesome. Those are two very, very great advice. Like, I think a lot of people would, I think you actually had a post on this too, where you said it feels good using the savings as opposed to like your credit card, and then having to figure out how to pay that and the interest back. So I mean, everybody talks about the prioritizing and, putting it aside. And I don't think that I even thought about that in terms of vacation. But I think, I know that you stating that, for those of us who are living and want and see you as our role model for traveling, that's a great idea as to how to do it. So
yeah.
I think in this time where I've actually left a job, so another good thing about if you're working and traveling is that you can the money's coming back, you're spending, but the money's coming back. But now it has been so important to understand that, thankfully I, made the sacrifices to have a savings that can fuel my desires for travel right now. And it's not like I'm accumulating debt that I'm unable to pay for as a result of it. So, the discipline that you have while you're earning is what can carry you and remove some of the stress from traveling and financing travel.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk, because you mentioned that you are not employed anymore by your own choosing. So it's funny because I got wind of this. Was it like 6 months ago? We were having dinner at a friend of ours, and two other friends of ours were there, Edna and Sade, and they were like, Monica literally just packed up all her belongings. And I don't know, was it shipped it to your mom's or something? And
sold everything and shipped my clothes to my mom's garage.
Oh, you sold everything? So you sold your house?
No, just the furniture and all the stuff that you can't carry on your back.
And so honestly, this was around the time when I was telling them. So it's so interesting that we were having similar experiences, because I took a leave of absence from work. I've since left my job, but I took a leave of absence because I couldn't do corporate America anymore, and really just wanted to explore my own interest and figure out how to make things work without living by the paycheck, being a slave to the paycheck. So I was having, some heart to heart with them, and they were like, oh my God, Moni just did that. And I just thought, okay, this is amazing. I need to understand exactly the thought process that went into this and what your end goal was in doing that. Like, how'd you get here?
It's like half part crazy, part courageous, right? It's like really, so let me see. It started out of thinking kind of, okay, where are you right now? Like, where are you in professionally? Where are you in life? Have you maximized or prioritized everything that you need to in this stage? And, I had to take a hard look at whether I had plateaued career-wise or if there was more to pursue. And, so you do that sort of evaluation, okay, at 30, I got to this title, I got to do X, Y, and Z. Some of the goals I had in the previous decade, I've accomplished some of those. And so it's like, what's next now? So that was the first question, was like, where are you? And the next question I had for myself is, where do you want to be? And the third was, what do you want to do most now? And when I asked myself, what do I want to do most now? It just didn't feel like it was more work. It didn't feel like, I wanted to pursue that. Partly because I'd already done a lot of what I came to DC to do, what I set out to do. I lived in DC. I came to DC right out of college. So it had been maybe 16, 17 years in policy work. And it's been great, ups and downs and all of that stuff. So,
and was policy always something you wanted to do? Was that one of the goals that you checked off?
I always wanted to work in government. Like, even in undergrad, my major was liberal arts and political science.
Gotcha.
I wanted to go to law school, but I wanted to go to law school to work in government. So I ended up just deciding to just do a public policy master's and, all of that. Like, wanting to work on Capitol Hill, did that, all of that. So yeah, I was totally that policy nerd person. I still am. So, and I was grateful, like, I've done it, right? So that was that. And then I knew that the times I'm most happy are when I'm traveling. I don't know. It's really hard to explain where it comes from or why that is, but just being somewhere new, just experiencing new things, eating new food, meeting new people, it's just like it's a soul connection for me. And I said to myself, well, right now I don't have any of the things that people generally consider in terms of what keeps them at home. Like I'm not married and I don't have children. And so I'm like, maybe I just need to take this next year and just like, do some YOLO traveling and figure it out, And so, of course, so I had that thought over a year ago. And so I started saving even more rigorously over that year. But I gave myself a hard deadline. And that is the one thing I would tell people. Like, if you're thinking about doing it, you need to save up as much as you can or figure out a way to work out some security financially, at least to carry you for a few months. And 2, give yourself a hard deadline because you will talk yourself out of it if you don't.
And what's the hard deadline for it? That is for you to wrap everything up and then travel?
At the end of September, at the very latest, you're quitting your job. You are by the end of September. So I was quitting my job by August. By the end of September, I was packing up my house. And then by October, I was going on the road.
Wow.
Those were the hard deadlines. Yeah.
That's awesome. I just wanted to talk about how you mentioned, you don't have some of those things that like hold you back from being able to do some things. And Bola had mentioned her own journey into this space, and so I remember when
Bola is very married with and very much a mother of 3.
three kids, high school kids. Yeah. And so, like, I remember when we were having this little dinner, and we were discussing it. I was like sitting there thinking, okay, Bola's going through a midlife crisis. Okay, is this better? Yes. All right. So yeah, I was thinking that Bola was going through through a midlife crisis, and I was like, man, I'm kind of worried for her. Like, I hope, like I asked her, I hope you're happy. And
I said I'd never been happier because it's exactly what you said. Letting go of whatever is tethering you to something that doesn't bring you joy automatically is going to up your happiness quotient automatically.
Right. It does show up as like, okay.
It does. So a lot of people, yes, it does.
Explain why you just like, I'm okay with being just done with this right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's where I want to go to a little bit, and I'm hoping you could help me out with this. It's just a thought that I had. So Bola had mentioned also in the beginning how a lot of people are, at least on Instagram, they seem to be doing a lot of traveling. There's a lot of travel bloggers or travel grammars or whatever you want to call them out there. And I'm just wondering, obviously you do this and you've done it in a way that seems very thoughtful, methodical, and you're saving. But it seems like that is a trend potentially. And I'm wondering if, this is something that is coming and then potentially going. A lot of people are trying to go into the content providing and that sort of thing. And are we all just getting swept up? And potentially a lot of people who aren't doing it methodically are going to find themselves without jobs, without a fallback and that sort of thing.
That's a good one because, somebody asked me if I travel because I blog. And I was like, no, I blog because I travel. Like you probably haven't even seen 50% of my trips on my Instagram page. Like, so it has to be something that becomes part of a lifestyle because that's when the sacrifices will make sense and how you will be disciplined enough to follow through. Because, it often looks great on Instagram and it's like, how are you getting all these trips? And I have tips for how you can travel inexpensively and all of that stuff. And I'll mention that. However, you have to, don't get caught up in trying to, travel so you can Instagram, because you will find yourself broke and back at home, sad. So I will say do it because you love it, because you want to, and then share because it's a way to connect with people and it's a way to show people kind of like what the joy of it all is. And also for me who does a lot of solo travel, it's also a great way to bring people along with you.
Yeah,
but I definitely caution people from thinking that I don't have, a trust fund somewhere where I just get to travel. No, you have to be smart about it. There has to be some planning involved, even if it's, we've let go of the things that seem like a stable life for this wide open space and time to explore and be adventurous and do all of that. But it didn't come out of just waking up one day and I'm like, yeah, this is great. And I'm not a person that can just backpack through Europe, with one bag on my back, stay at hostels and stuff like that. I'm still a woman out in the world. So you have to have some planning around it. You have to also be sure that you have things in place that allow you to be safe where you're going and secure. So I will definitely say put some thought into it, but don't let having the need or the ability to say I have this cool DC job and title keep you on your couch. Keep you at home. And also don't let having a job stop you from going places. Like I said, maximize every holiday. I know with families is a little different. When you accrue your vacation time, you have to think about what that means for your family. But plan it around a time when the kids are on fall break. That's around September, October, or October, November. That's a really inexpensive travel time. And even as a single person, that's my favorite travel time. It's really inexpensive. And you get a week off. If you save your time, your children have a week off of school. You guys can all go together and it's inexpensive around the world. So find somewhere you can go and make it happen.
Yeah.
Nice.
So one thing, and then I'll give it back to you as a co-host. But yes, first and foremost, I want to say that I appreciated what you said about, why you share and bring people along. I mean, a lot of people, I just recently got into Instagram, and before that I was definitely afraid to expose anything about myself. And so I did it as a means of trying to be a little bit more open and putting myself out there. But, there's that debate about those people who are on Instagram sharing all the time and whether or not it's, just superfluous and extra and that kind of thing. And I'm like, I find it, especially if you are, talking to your friends, she's like, I'm dominating she just gave me a knee under the table. Like, don't dominate. You're supposed to talk. But I just want to say that I just want to say that, what you said about it is absolutely true. Like, if you're doing it and you're being real, and this is not just my question, I just wanted to make that statement. You're being real and you're sharing, you're bringing your friends along. I think that's precisely what I get from your Instagram, like the messages you put out, and I definitely get that. But I want to say, the real question, though, I just wanted to say that, but the real question is, you talked about traveling alone and as a woman, and, I know you've been to India and all that stuff, and I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that for our listeners, about what that all entails.
I haven't had any incidences, which is great. I've been really fortunate in that I have been safe everywhere that I've been. And I think it just starts with, if you're a traveler, you're not in it so you can say, oh, I'm at the, Ritz-Carlton in London. You're traveling to really experience it. You kind of already have that ability to connect with your environment, the ability to connect with people, so that you blend in more than stand out. And that kind of also creates a sense of security. Now, you also have to be a person that has your street smarts about you. And I think that's just, that's just core if you're traveling, especially if you're traveling by yourself. Living in DC has been great because you got to have your street smarts, just, navigating North Capitol Street, and not to call out North Capitol. It's an example. So that's been great. I will say that I'm never a person who has to stay in an expensive place, but I have to guarantee that it's somewhat safe. So if it means getting there and feeling unsafe, listen to your instincts and immediately spend some money to go somewhere else where you will feel safe or where you're safer. Another thing that I always do, the very first thing I do everywhere I go is I would have pre-planned a tour, maybe a walking tour or a tour with a car. And I don't try not to skimp on that so that you can immediately know your environment and you're guided around the city. And so you can kind of already get a sense for, okay, where are some places I can come back to and explore on my own? And where are some places I'm just going to see from this tour, through the car window and, it's great. Thank you. And do that. And I think those two things have really served me well. So I would say you have to be really conscious and, have your street smarts about you. Definitely do a little bit of research around safety and book a tour so that you can, soon as you get there, because you can familiarize yourself with where you are, and that gives you a sense of, where's safe and where isn't. Those are just some practical.
So a couple of questions. Do you check in with people back home? Because I always think about that, when you travel, especially being a solo traveler, do you, along with bringing your Instagram folks along, but just more of your core family group or friends, you check in with someone to let them know, here's where I am, here's the name of the hotel, what have you, just to make sure if anything happens?
Oh yes, definitely. My mother needs, she has a copy of my passport, my itinerary, and a list of hotels where I'm staying or places where I'm staying. So I definitely do that. I share that with my mom and my sister mostly, so that somebody at every point in time knows where I am. I don't do the whole thing about when you get there, you contact the American embassy and let them know where you are. I don't necessarily do that, but then I can't really think of, I haven't been to any war zones yet. And so I would, if I'm going somewhere that's considered a war zone, I would probably check in with the embassy. So that's another thing that people can do. But yes, you definitely have to let someone know where you are.
And then, wait, one more question. So do you choose to solo travel, or is this just as a result of, you wanting to travel and some other folks are not available, so you choose to go regardless?
I have come to appreciate solo travel more now. I definitely have always I have a group of friends that I've traveled a lot with, been to, 3 or 4 countries together. It's always nice to have a co-traveler or someone with you. Like you can split the hotels, you can split cars and all of that stuff. So that's also good. But I've come to really appreciate solo travel. One, I've had to do it more because my time is different now from a lot of my friends or people that I travel with. And so, but I also come to appreciate it for the ability to kind of also just set the time and the travel and the tone of it around what you like and what you enjoy. And feeling safer and more comfortable with traveling even farther and farther away now. It's become just more enjoyable to go on my own and explore and do different things and just kind of take in whatever experience or cultural experience I'm meant to have there on my own and by myself. Because definitely when you're traveling with other people, you have to accommodate their desires and their likes. One person, each person, you might want to spend the whole day at the museum. Sometimes you can't reconcile both, and then you have to acquiesce and do one person's desires, and then you're feeling like, oh, I came all the way over here and I didn't get to do, But I don't know, if I find, if I have if I was married or had that person like to travel too, I will definitely do it with another person. But definitely hasn't stopped me from going on trips, by myself.
And was it a skill set that you had to pick up? Because I've only done solo travel once. It was to the DR, and I probably spent 75% of the time in the hotel. I just did not feel comfortable. Every time I went out, I felt like people were looking at me like, oh, poor child, what is going on? And then I also thought about the safety part of it. So because I didn't fully enjoy it, I can't see myself. I mean, the idea sounds amazing, especially from an eat, pray, love perspective, being able to just get up whenever, do yoga, and like you said, not having to compromise what you would prefer to do on the trip. It sounds amazing and interesting, but I don't know that I can work myself up to it.
Yeah.
So, but is that something that you had to get comfortable with, or were you always that type of person?
I I think it's definitely something I had to grow into. But I don't know that it's not something I haven't been comfortable with. So some of my solo travel started even around work travel. Like I remember I was in Zambia for work one time, and I was there over the weekend before I had another thing to do on Monday, and I just left my coworkers. I booked a flight that same day and went to Victoria Falls in like a 4-seater, one of those little out of
Oh wow. In Zambia.
Yes. And did hiked Victoria Falls by myself. Came back. So I think it starts first from just like, how much do you want to experience where you are, and I'm really big on don't waste any time. I hate like feeling like I wasted time somewhere. Like I traveled somewhere and all I did was sit at a hotel, even if it's raining, I want to go see what I can. I want to try to do what I can. And I think solo travel gives you so much of that. So you just kind of have to dig in and try it. Even just last month I was in Ghana and I had a bunch of friends there. We were all there for particular events, but one day I sent a text and I said, okay guys, I called a taxi and I went to Jamestown, which is this water fishing community, one of the slums in Accra, and I just went by myself. I got there and I was like, oh, I should have thought about this one a little bit, because they were like, you can't just walk around here. That was the first thing they said to me. I was like,
oh, why is that? You have to book a tour? You have to go with a guide?
Because it's dangerous?
Yeah. They made me walk around with a guide, and because it's also, so there's a lighthouse and there's a museum part or parts that you can kind of visit, but then this is people's community as well. And it would have been a little odd for me to just walk around. I wouldn't have even understood where I was or what any of it meant. So that was a good thing that they kind of stopped me, but I didn't expect it at all. That's some of the times where you have to make sure that I didn't plan it either. See, remember that whole thing about do a little bit of research, because I got there and I immediately didn't feel as safe as I usually did. And I thought about it and I was like, oh my God, I kind of was impulsive about this. I didn't quite plan it out very well. So I would say if you put a little bit of planning into it, but let the adventurous spirit just kind of guide you as well. You'll be surprised how much you can enjoy solo travel. You're just like taking stuff on your own at your own pace, and things that you like. So yeah, and no drama.
So let's talk then about your trip. After selling all your belongings as much as possible, giving yourself a deadline to quit your job, which you did, move out of your house, I think was what it was, and then, book your trip. So, yeah, tell us about that. How did you make the decision to go on this trip, and how was it?
Okay, so the West Africa trip was my most recent trip, but the first trip I had after I started the sabbatical was Madagascar. And that was a great kind of opening to this whole period of life, because it's probably one of the farthest places I've ever been and the most sort of remote, exotic out there. And it's not, I can't even say I've ever... I had a concept of what to expect. You kind of know the cartoon and just say Madagascar sounds but I didn't really know a lot of people there.
And why did you choose Madagascar?
So I got an email that there was a flight deal on Air France.
Okay.
And it was a certain amount. I was like, oh, this is not real. I just put in my credit card and it accepted it.
Wow.
And it kind of coincided already with my planned sabbatical. So I was like, all right, that's great. That's going to be my first trip. And it's on my top 10 list of places to go. So I felt like that was like really divine that it happened that way. So I went out there. It felt as far as it sounds. But super beautiful island, really huge. You even all of that, when I started doing research, I didn't realize that I won't be able to go from one side of Madagascar to the other by road or within 2 days. It takes like 2.5 to 3 weeks to travel from the
Oh,
north.
wow.
Yeah, it's the
It's
fifth
that big.
largest, the fifth largest island in the world.
Wow.
Did
Wow.
not even think about that at all. So I ended up touring only the southeastern part of Madagascar.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go to 5 cities, so not small.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot.
And how long was what the duration of the trip in total?
I was there for 10 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really great. And also, it's not an easy country to navigate. Flights are super expensive and scarce, so you can't fly to as many places. And there are roads, but the roads aren't great. So it was one of those where you travel for hours and hours and hours, but when you get to wherever you're going, you're just blown away by how beautiful it is, how exotic it is, and how amazing it is. So that was definitely a good way to kind of really get into the adventure spirit. And after that, it just felt like, okay, I did that. I can go to other places, you know. And so then I chose India. And since I was going so far, I did the whole thing again where I looked at the map, like I talked about before, and I decided, well, where else am I going to go while I'm over in Asia, Southeast Asia, wherever, and find out how many places I can go. So I ended Sri Lanka, the Maldives, and I got to do about 4 cities in India, 4 or 5 cities in India. I was there for about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks.
2 weeks in India?
No, a week and a half in India, and then the rest of the time, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and then back.
Wow. Yeah.
Maldives.
And another way to also see, and so now I'm actually like picking up ideas and tips because I had my flight to India stopped in Frankfurt, Germany first. And I had like a good 7-8 hours of layover time. And such a great city because the airport is in the middle of the city. You can take a train to the city center. And I got to tour Frankfurt and saw pretty much everything there was to see in maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. So that's an additional stop. That's an additional.
Right. And you can extend some of those layovers as well, right? If you planned it.
Layovers.
Yeah.
And when you're booking, look at what time it gives you. Don't do a nighttime layover. Those are the worst because you will have 12-hour layovers and then it's all dark for 9 hours out of it and you got to go back to the airport. But if you have a daytime layover, take that flight and
Yeah, so I like one of the destinations on my list now is the Maldives, and that was because I saw that you traveled there, and it seemed gorgeous. So I definitely want to make my way down there too.
Yes, I definitely recommend it. Definitely look up all the research about the Maldives before you go. Not because it's as beautiful as you think. It's as beautiful as the pictures say. This is not even. You don't even have to filter your pictures when you go there. It's not. But it's far away, and I didn't realize this until I planned to go there. The Maldives are made up of about 21 atolls, different islands, and each island pretty much hosts its own resort. Capital is not a place you can go and stay. You have to have booked your resort, and you have to book transportation to get to that resort. And so when you think the Maldives, you just think, oh, I'll just find a cool resort. But some of those resorts are like 2 hours away from the capital. Expensive, and depending on how long you are staying, if you spend hours getting there and hours getting back to the airport, you've eaten into as much time as you can spend there. And it's an expensive place to go to.
Gotcha.
But it's completely worth it.
And you said the capital is not a place you can stay because it doesn't have much of the infrastructure you're looking for, or?
There aren't hotels. I think there are guest houses where people who have overnight layovers can stay, but pretty much they expect you to have booked transportation to your resort, and you have to get there by water. So it's either by speedboat, a seaplane, or some other form of water taxi.
Gotcha. And how was India?
India was really amazing. So I went for Diwali, or I booked my time there around Diwali.
And what is Diwali?
Festival of Lights.
Okay. So
it's like a Lunar New Year for them. It's a big time. Folks are off of work for over a week. It's like a national time of celebration. And it's there are a lot of Hindu festivities and rituals that happen around it, but it's also for anybody. The streets are lined, people have all the marigolds, lanyards, and they just paint everywhere, and it was really special to be there at that time.
So I know you were in New Delhi. Did you go to another city?
Oh yeah. I did Delhi, Jaipur, Mumbai for a little bit. I was overwhelmed. That was one of the few places I've gone to where I was like, all right, you win. I can't handle traffic with a lot of people. I was like, all right, I can't. I was
even more than Lagos. I feel like Lagos is pretty packed with a lot of people. No, not.
You're talking billion
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I did Agra. So if the Golden Triangle is Delhi, Agra for the Taj Mahal, Jaipur, which is an old Rajasthan city. And then I went to South Asia as well. South India as well. And stopped in Mumbai and went to Goa, which is a beach coastal town in India. So I did all those 5. And India is huge. But one thing about going there, and I highly recommend it for everyone, is that there's so much ancient civilization there. It's mind-blowing. They have everything, like science and cultural stuff, architecture, mysticism, art. If you enjoy any of that, you would love India. And I had heard that people either really love it or just really hate it. I kind of fell in the middle. I loved it for the history and the culture. I didn't love it for certain other things, traffic. It can be really crowded and stuff like that, but part of the experience.
Yeah, I traveled there when I was young, like 21, and I remember really feeling like it was too hot for me. Like I was annoyed the whole entire time I was there. It was just, the heat just was oppressive. And I don't know how, it was a long time ago, but it was like and I don't want to be disparaging to the country, but it was just like, it was an adjustment in terms of...
Yeah. All your senses are at play when you're in there. But like Nigeria is like that too, right? You can't find a quiet moment in Nigeria. Someone's like the horn is going, fumes from cars, traffic, people. India is kind of like that. And I definitely had tour guides everywhere I went to. And I actually booked cars to take me because I really I didn't want to waste time doing too much exploring by public transportation because I knew I had limited time. So I just booked a car. And that's probably, people will consider that too expensive but if you have more time, you can do public transportation. But I wanted to maximize the time that I had. But that was also very helpful so that I could see a lot of the things I wanted to see because I was able to plan my own transportation since I had booked a car for the whole time I was there.
And is that how you got from city to city, or?
That's how I got from city to city.
And you had a driver with you, though? You booked a car with a driver?
Yes. Before I went to South India, I flew from Jaipur to Goa because it was too far to go there.
Gotcha. So then after India, then what happened next?
I flew to Sri Lanka, spent a couple of days 3 days in Sri Lanka. I really liked it. It's like it's like what Ghana is to Nigeria. It's
in what way? Explain that.
Calmer.
It has like a similar culture to India, but less people, and they're a little bit less aggressive, or a little bit more quiet. And so that's why I really enjoyed it because of that. So I felt like, I'm starting to wind down from the high and the energy of India and got to take in another country that has its own unique culture. But very similar stuff. So there are a lot of temples. They're more Buddhist than Hindu, I think, in Sri Lanka. But they had a lot of temples as well, just like India. They're also very big on spirituality as like a daily practice of life. So it's kind of like all the bowing and recognizing good energy and people and things like that. So I enjoyed it for that, but it was less hectic than India.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the year of the return.
Year of the return.
So I don't even know where to start with this. Were you planning to align your trip back to West Africa with the year of the return? Was that something you always had in mind, or did it just happen to be by coincidence?
I knew I was going to spend a longer time in West Africa than anywhere else I had been in the past 4 months. And I knew I wanted to add different West African countries and not just Nigeria. I knew I was going to be in Nigeria and I was going to sort of have that as base. But Ghana was definitely on the list. You know, it's just kind of one of those, I've been to, I go to Nigeria every year. How have I never been to Ghana? And then when you start hearing of all the year of the return events, and I've seen some of it from last year when another friend got to experience some of the activities, I was like, oh, I definitely want to be part of this. But all of that came so late that I hadn't booked my plane travel. I didn't have any flights, but I knew I was going one way or another. And I actually just completed this. I'm going to publish it on my blog today or tomorrow, but I had a very epic road trip from Nigeria to Ghana. So I went by road.
And how long is that? I mean, that is so bold. How long was that trip? And
it's stupid at the same time. It's like both sides. It was supposed to be 9 hours. It ended up being 15 or 16 on the way.
Wow. Did you have a driver or were you all driving yourself?
No, we booked tickets on a bus.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So they actually have public transportation that goes from Lagos or somewhere in Nigeria to Ghana.
Yes. Lagos is a big state. Yeah. So yeah, it was very interesting.
And are the roads accommodating to that trip? Like,
so let me say the positives first, and then I'll talk about the other parts. The positive part about road travel from Nigeria to Ghana is that you get to take in 2 other West African countries as well. So you have to go through Benin Republic and Togo before you get to Ghana. So of course, I'm like, oh, I get to go through those and all the passport stamps. I am for sure going by road. And it's cheaper, obviously. Ghana to Nigeria flights are not very expensive, but around that year of the return and that whole month, it was insane. You know, you're talking about flights that are usually around $100 and $120 round trip, and they were like $800, $900.
oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was definitely, that wasn't an option. And I knew I was going to Ghana whether or not, you know, if I had to walk there, I was going to go. So we booked we booked a bus through a company that we thought we had researched, had great reviews online. I don't know if those were all fake reviews because the experience was really crazy. The bus company itself had issues. The roads are not bad once you're out of Nigeria, sad to say. It's very disappointing as a Nigerian. But the minute you cross the border into Benin Republic and then from there into Togo to Ghana, the roads are great. And coming back, the minute you cross into Nigeria, you know you're in Nigeria.
Wow.
So those are the negatives. I actually will recommend it. Though I had a horrible experience on the way there, I just wrote about it. I would say on the way back it was different because we had a new company that was well organized, really professional, and that was great. And so at each border town, you get to mingle with people who are either engaged in commerce or selling food or just kind of around the border towns. And it's a great way to kind of get a feel for each of those different countries. And each one was really different as well. And you travel through the country. So you travel through the capital of Benin Republic and some other border towns. And the same for Togo. You go through Lomé, and Lomé is it's all along the coast. So you're literally driving along the coast of West Africa, like palm trees and ocean and sand.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And
sounds like a place to visit.
Yes, I definitely would go back there and spend time there. And also just like, wow, West Africa. This is so, and it's parts of it that you don't even get to see. And if you fly, you miss all of that. So I recommend it.
So then once you got to Ghana, what were all the activities around?
Shenanigans.
Year of the return. Okay, first of all, I have to give it up for Ghana. That was my first time in Ghana. Of course, coming from Nigeria and being Nigerian, you're already like, oh, here we go. Ghana's airport is amazing. I did go to the airport. I had to go to pick someone up, so I got to see the airport, even though we traveled by road. The roads are really good. And apparently when everyone is in their city in Accra for Year of the Return, they have no traffic as well. I have to say the architecture was also really nice in Ghana. The energy is not as high as Nigeria, but they did a good job. And so they had two major events, or there was a Year of the Return events, which were like with the president and a bunch of all that stuff, some of the celebrities that come from America. Then there was a concert series called Afro Nation, which was 3 days of concerts. And then there was a festival that was called Afrochella, which is like an outdoor festival where they had vendors and food and some music as well. And that was a one-day event. But the best part was just seeing a lot of African Americans, and actually British Africans. There were so many.
Oh, really?
Yes, there were so many Brits there.
I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense because I guess the same anniversary would apply to them as well, and it's also closer to them, so that makes sense. Yeah.
And so seeing just people come back and I guess experience a sense, just kind of experience Africa and feel a sense of belonging, that was really great. But I had also done a tour of Badagry in Nigeria. Badagry is the coastal town where a lot of the slave trade, actually more slaves left out of Badagry in all of West Africa than anywhere else in West Africa. So I had already done a tour there, visited there. And so that was already, very enlightening even for me. And so having that and then getting to connect with all the activities that were happening in Ghana just really felt like a very special time. It was really great to see people just out, feeling like they belong here, walking around, partying, celebrating, just being with each other. It was a great thing. They did a good job. Kudos to Ghana.
Oh, that's amazing. How long were you there total? In Ghana?
In Ghana for 1 week.
Okay. And then afterwards you went back to Nigeria? Okay. And then came back here?
To America.
Oh, gotcha. Wow. So it's been quite the 4 months, right?
Yeah. So the only other question that I have for you, because we're running up on an hour, is I know, again, you're a very intelligent person. I've read a lot of the things that you put in, inspirational things. I know there was a point when, you were putting in the lessons learned for either the year or the decade. I'm not sure exactly what it was. And so I actually even made it. My thing was to go bold. But anyways, I was just plugging myself that I made your lessons for the decade. But anyways, I my question, I guess, for you is, what is some advice or some things you want to leave our listeners with? What have you learned, and what do you want to share with the world that's deep and impactful?
I would just tell everybody that just go on the travel, and this might sound really like frou-frou or in the clouds, but the truth is that the universe will always catch you. And I say that all the time. You're going somewhere new, but you'll meet people that will take care of you, that will look out for you, that will make your experience great. Things will happen and they will work out still. You just have to stay open, stay flexible, and just keep believing that the universe will catch you. And I think people should leave their towns. I'm not saying quit your job and pack up your whole life, but pick one place, somewhere completely new, and go there and let it teach you something about yourself. That's definitely the two things I would say.
So what's next for you? What are the projects you're working on, and how much longer are you going to be in the U.S. before you pick up again and go?
Well, I'm going to be here for all of February because my sister's having a baby, and I'm
Aw,
here till the baby comes.
aw.
I don't want to miss that by going on the road, but I don't know. I kind of, somebody asked, where do you want to go this year? And I said Senegal and Gambia. And then a
Mm-hmm.
friend texted me and said, I want to go to Senegal this year, this spring. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that that's going to be the next travel. I'm kind of really enjoying West Africa travel.
Mm.
One general thing with me is like I don't like repeating cities, or I can repeat countries. I don't like repeating cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a lot of people always go, I want to travel with you, but I want to go to Montego Bay, Jamaica. And I'm
Done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm hoping to go to new places.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in the last 3.5, 4 months, I don't have like planned travel yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll come. It'll happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, how do you see this next phase of your life or journey unfolding, or are you just not making any plan and going with the flow?
It's kind of yes, there are no real set plans. And I think that was part of it, right? Part of it was to just let go of control and just kind of open up your life to whatever is meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're supposed to gain in this time. So I can't really tell you that I have any plans.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that at some point I'm going to have to rejoin the workforce because, the money is not, bottomless. And also you can't, just even on a professional level, I can't just, be out of the workforce forever and a day.
Mm-hmm.
But in the time that I have, my plans are to just try to go to as many places as I can, find inexpensive ways to get there and experience as much as possible. And then when it's time to go back to work, go back to work. But I will still resume my regular travel schedule, which was three places a year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think
amazing.
we mentioned your Instagram, I guess, pages name. So do you want to tell people what those are?
yep. So my travel Instagram is Miles and Braids. Miles, Milesand braids. And
Mm-hmm.
because I acquiring miles and I always wear my hair in braids. So hit me up on Instagram, join. It's also the same name from my blog and site. I'm trying to be way better at putting stuff up on the blog,
Mm-hmm.
but the Instagram page definitely has more current stuff and content, and I try to make sure that I keep bringing folks along. And my personal Instagram is Moni, Moni _talks. Moni talks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like it. I never thought about that until you said it now. Yeah, it's smart.
So that as well. I try to do more lifestyle stuff on there. Kind of talk about what inspires me,
Mm-hmm.
style things. So both of those are kind of my social media expressions. So
Yeah.
really join and catch me on there. So
Very good. So I have 3 wrap-up questions, which I recently started asking guests, meaning you're the second guest that I'm going to ask this to. So the first one is because I guess the reason behind or the premise behind Some Days Today is exactly what you talked about. The universe will catch you. Open yourself up to adventure and just live your life. Once again, like it's a vacation, which is what our motto is as well. And I think you are an amazing example of that. I know for me though, I'm definitely not where you are. I'm hoping to get there and maybe take a huge step closer to that this year with some of the travel plans that I have. But for those who are not there or who sort of held themselves back, a lot of the reason for that holdback is fear, because you don't know, will the universe catch you? Will I run out of money? What will happen? Etc. So what fear are you sort of pushing through, if any, at the moment?
yeah, definitely. One of the fears that I have is that hopefully I'm not using the sabbatical to be complacent about other goals, because travel is great and it's a goal, but those are not my only goals. And I will say one fear that I've been able to overcome from having taken this leap and this step is to kind of trust the unknown. You know, you don't have to have it all worked out. You don't have to have it all, you know, set. You know, it doesn't matter to not have a job title to tell people. You know, you just kind of also have to just believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself and let go of the attachment to the results and enjoy the process.
That's good. So how are you pushing through that? You mentioned not wanting to be complacent. So how are you addressing that now?
Also reminding myself to listen to what I'm saying, which is that if the universe is going to catch me, that I'm not being complacent. I'm listening to what the universe is trying to teach me at this point in time. And so when I do go back into the professional world or the workforce, that, you know, I have had experience with that. So it's not complacency, you know, fall back and think back on the times where you've worked hard, the skills that you've acquired, and understand that, you know, the universe will catch you. So it's okay, you know. So I'm trying to remind myself that, you know, it's not complacency. It's just really also listening to what I'm supposed to gain in this time. So.
Very good. And then the last question is, you know, 2019 seemed like you did that one a big year for you. So what is or are your wildest, greatest goals or dreams for this year?
2020, wildest, greatest goals.
Yeah. Something that you're even too nervous to even admit to yourself.
I want to say secure the bag, but isn't that like everybody?
I mean, it depends how much you're talking about. Securing the bag could be a goal.
I mean, it's going to sound wild, but I kind of I guess it's the thing they call wanting it all, but I kind of want it all. I want great travel. I want to earn good money. I want to feel valued, and I want partnership and family, my own partnership, romantic partnership and family. And I kind of feel like this year is going to be the year for all of it to just happen. And you don't call it wanting it all. Sure, I want it all, you know? So that's it. I want to travel. I want to earn. I want to be in love and want family, all of that good stuff. So
that's amazing. And I'm sure the universe will catch you and be there for you in accomplishing that. So very good. Well, you know, Moni, I knew this was going to be amazing, and it's definitely been beyond. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, and
absolutely.
I'm loving watching your travel, and I'm loving watching you guys just live it up and enjoy life. I love seeing you at the Caribbean parties and traveling. You're traveling with couples or you're traveling with your family. I love that. I really want people to just do the things that make you happy.
Right.
And there are things that may limit it, but find ways to work around it. You know, make that the excuse to not do it.
So true. So true.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Thank you for that. And, you know, I'm sure, like Bola said, all the good things that you want are coming this year.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that.
Meet somewhere on the road.
I know. You know, we actually have, so part of what I'm hoping to do, and Mac thinks this is crazy, but one of my wildest dreams for 2020 is to take all of us, myself, Mac, and my 3 children, on a 2 to 3 month tour of Africa. So North Africa, east, go south, and then end up in Nigeria at some point and then head out. So that's what we're hoping on. And you mentioned, I think, Senegal and Gambia. So those 2 are on the list. So yeah, we may see each other there depending on if the timing is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, stay in touch, and I definitely wish you lots of travel mercies and travel joys. And I look forward to seeing all your adventures.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, we look forward to staying tuned to your amazing content and adventures and words of inspiration. So just keep staying fabulous and you know, shining like you are. So very good. All right. Well, best of luck to your sister, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. So Mac, do you want to take us out? This is there's nothing more appropriate now than this motto of ours.
So thank you for joining us at Some Days Today, where we remind you to live your life like it's a fucking vacation.